Voters in West Dorset will go to the polls 1 week today to have their say on the way West Dorset District Council is run. Now, they'll be asked to vote on whether to stick with the current cabinet system of local government or return to the committee system, which is currently used at Weymouth and Portland Borough Council, for example. Now, the difference between the two systems is clear. With the cabinet setup, well, that's based around a leader from the most popular party who then chooses their team, often from the same party. The committee system involves every party with their influence and seats around the table dictated by the number of votes they get at election time. Now, the referendum was triggered by a petition signed by more than 6,000 demanding a vote was held, with much of the criticism of West Dorset District Council centring around the controversial Charles Street development, which saw new multi-million-pound council buildings built a couple of years back, if you remember. A public meeting's being held tonight in Dorchester anyway. It'll be chaired by Clive Stafford Smith, the human rights lawyer and chairman of Public First Dorset. And Clive joins me right now. Good morning to you, Clive.
Well, good morning. And let me say, at age 56, I'm still hoping for my first international cricket match, but I'm not sure it's going to happen.
I'm sure you do a fine job. Now, the clock is counting down, isn't it? A week to go until West Dorset has its very own referendum, only the second of its kind in the country. How important is this to people?
Well, I think it's very exciting, first, to have a referendum like this, because as you say, it's only the second in the country. And the last one was on a similar issue where, indeed, our position prevailed. But the most important thing is people get out there and vote. You know, it's sad that people get depressed about politics and think it's all pointless, because it's actually ultimately very important, and it's us that are going to make the difference, the voters.
I mean, this meeting this evening, it's at the Corn Exchange, and top of the agenda, discussion on the recent report which criticised the way West Dorset District Council handled Charles Street. It was a controversial issue. What's in that report? And is that really the main reason behind this referendum?
It's not the only reason. Look, I live in Bridport, and we've had our differences with the council just not listening to us. I mean, for example, a little while back, in the development of Bridport, there was a meeting in Dorchester, and I was present, and the planning folk who were advising the council gave 52 reasons why they shouldn't vote in favour of sort of messing up the centre of Bridport. And they went against that, and then, you know, they got so confused they falsified their own minutes online. So it was a total mess, and I think the same has been true of Charles Street. And indeed, the evaluation, which I have right in front of me, the independent evaluation of that, criticizes the lack of transparency, says the consultation was just a tick-box exercise, and so on and so forth. So what we really want is just to try to encourage the councillors to be much more responsive to the people.
Now, we've explained the difference between a committee and a cabinet system, but you know, you've got cabinet systems used by Dorset County Council, by North Dorset, by Poole, by Bournemouth, many other committees around the country with that style of local government. Why do you think it isn't good enough in West Dorset?
Do you know, the cabinet system's changed a lot, and I think it changed primarily under Tony Blair to become much, much less democratic. And so, you know, you have a cabinet system in London, at Westminster. And what it does is, if you vest all the power in the cabinet, you really take away the influence and input of the other councillors. And as you know, we've gone around doing these sort of town hall meetings, which have been really fun and sometimes quite feisty. And I've had to sort of try to separate people a little bit sometimes. We haven't got to any fisticuffs yet, but you know, one of the things that's been slightly distressing is some of the councillors and former councillors who have shown up to these meetings have said that even they, our elected officials, when they've been present at council meetings, have not been allowed to express their opinion, haven't had their opinion listened to. And, you know, that's crazy. So I think one of the things the cabinet system's done in some places is just got a little out of control.
Do you think, though, Clive, that with all the number of elections around at the moment, the referendum, the local elections, your own referendum here in West Dorset, that the general public perhaps maybe there's a degree of apathy. I mean, what sort of a turnout are you expecting this evening?
Well, I hope there isn't apathy, and I think you make a good point that our involvement in politics mustn't be limited just to voting. I mean, that just comes up once every few years, or this year we're voting quite a lot. Well, what I'd like to encourage, and what we've been trying to do with this little Public First group, is to encourage people to be much more engaged. I spend my life as a human rights lawyer going around sort of beating up on governments to try to get them to behave vastly better and not torture people, not hold people in Guantanamo Bay and so forth. And I think doing that, we can enforce a government that we can be proud of, that actually does what we want. So the point of this is to have much less apathy rather than more. And I sincerely hope that these meetings encourage real democratic debate rather than sitting home and watching bad television.
Well, Clive, we wish you well, and get out your pads and your box, and I wish you well with your aspirations.
Do you think I need pads and a box for this meeting? I'm not sure. You've got me nervous.
You may well do. The meeting tonight takes place at the Corn Exchange in Dorchester. It starts at 7 o'clock. Clive Stafford Smith is our international human rights lawyer here on Breakfast in Dorset.